Welcome back to another episode of Sports Dan Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Hooker here, and today's episode will be a game preview between the Clemson Tigers and the LSU Tigers happening in Memorial Stadium in Clemson, South Carolina. This game is going to be at 7:30 at night. All eyes will be on this game, from NFL GMs to NFL scouts to even Heisman voters. This game will defy a lot for these teams, because Brian Kelly hasn't won a season opener since he's been at LSU. And Dabo Swinney has been uplifting his team, preaching to the media that this is arguably one of the best teams in the nation. And now that they have a chance to put it out there with this marquee matchup in the beginning of the season, will tell a lot about these teams. Because let's go down a list of players: Antonio Williams, T.J. Parker, Peter Woods, Avion Terrell, K. Klubnik for LSU, Barian Brown, Nick Anderson, Aaron Anderson, Patrick Payton, Whit Weeks, Harold Perkins. From those names, that's arguably 8 first-round draft picks alone in this game. And the rest of the guys that I just named will get drafted. And so when we talk about this matchup, we're talking about elite versus elite, because LSU had a chance to be in the college football playoff last year, but fumbled against Alabama, fumbled against Texas A&M, because those games were games you had to win to get in. And so for me, that team last year from LSU peaked early, and they suffered the consequences late. Now with this Clemson team, things weren't looking so good. They had many highs, they had lows where it's like, what's going on? But then they rode the wave. They rode through the valley and reached the mountaintop, win the ACC
56-yarder to the
off of a 50-plus yard field goal. Then you go into Austin, Texas, go down 2 scores, and you come back and make it a game. To where during that game, you were looking at K. Klubnik like, he's making these throws, he's making the right reads, he's extending plays. And so for me, that momentum that carried from Clemson's side is more positive than LSU. But now LSU dipped into the transfer portal and added Patrick Payton. They added Mansour Delane, who had 4 interceptions and 4 pass breakups at Virginia Tech. So now you add those guys and add in 5-star freshman corner DJ Pickett, who's 6'4", 190. Now that you approved the defense last year, where the defense at times you can say was lackluster, because LSU allowed over 220. LSU allowed 224 yards passing, but then their rush defense allowed 140 yards. So this is where we have to look at LSU like, if their defense can't improve from last year, because 2023 they were god awful. 2024 they improved, but they weren't there yet. But now this is the year where it seems like you have to put it all together, because right now LSU season is college football playoff and win at least a game or bust. Because if not, there will be a lot of eyes on LSU to say, is Brian Kelly the guy to get them to the playoff at least? Because in my eyes, the SEC West is wide open for them to make it there. To make it there, the SEC West is wide open for them to make the SEC championship. So now, in this game, it starts off like this. From the Clemson side, you got K. Klubnik. He's familiar with his weapons with T.J. Moore, Brian Westcott Jr., Antonio Williams, and you also can sprinkle in a little Tyler Brown. And then the defense, TJ Parker and Peter Woods are consensus top 5 picks wherever you see a mock draft at. So now that seeing these players go into a marquee matchup, and you also have to add in Ashton Hampton, who teams didn't know about, but they knew about it in the season. Avion Terrell, everyone knows him because his big brother, AJ Terrell, but he's no slouch of his own. And now you also have safety Cliff Barnes, who has a knack to being where the ball is at all times, having 4 and 3 interceptions the past 2 seasons, having 7 interceptions in total in the past 2 seasons, and also having a guy like Sammy Brown, who's a former 5-star, who played sparingly in the beginning, then as the season went along, he got better and he became a starter. So when I see a team like that, a makeup of a team like that, it's like, ooh, I gotta go with this. But then LSU comes back with saying, hey, I added Barry Brown through transfer portal. I added Nick Anderson through the transfer portal. Aaron Anderson is still there. Chris Hilton Jr. is still there. Trey'Dez Green, 6'7", matchup problem, is still there. Explosive running back, Kaden Durham, is still there. So what it comes down to is the coaching battle to me. In my opinion, in a game like this, I trust Dabo Swinney more than Brian Kelly. And here's why. With the AP top 10 opponents, Dabo Swinney is 25-14. He has one of the best records in college football with AP top 10 opponents. Having a 64 winning percentage, that's his lot. But Brian Kelly, ever since he's been at LSU, he's been 2-3 against AP top 10. While both have a drastic difference in numbers, it seems like the recipe is still the same. Clemson in the AP top 10, in those matchups, we see them fighting. We see them going on. But with LSU, it's either they win by, because you have to think, those 2 AP top 10 wins were against Ole Miss last year and Alabama 2 years ago. What was the key concept for those wins? Overtime wins. Let's go out there. Let's not play another down. That was the difference. But those losses, blowouts, 10+. So when I go look at it, when we compare to both elite offenses, Clemson averaged 20 more total yards, both putting up 400 total yards last season. Clemson scored around 35 points a game to LSU's 30. The passing offense, LSU was a better passing team, averaging 315 yards through the air, while Clemson only averaged 278. Rushing, Clemson was more productive, averaging 173 yards, while LSU only averaged 115. So when you look at that, we notice that Clemson is more balanced. LSU is not afraid to attack through the air, but they were somewhat lackluster to LSU standard running the football. But now, with Durham, last year, he wasn't as involved in the beginning, but later on, Durham got better and better. And he showed that his talent matched his productivity. So then they start feeding him the ball as time went on. Seemed like he was getting stronger. He was adapting to the SEC football environment. Because high school ball and SEC football, 2 way different things. And that's something that has to have an adjustment period. And that adjustment period happened, and Durham got better as the season went along. But here's the thing with me. Nussmeier threw 12 picks last year. Cade only threw 8. So when I look at that, I say to myself, what's going on? Cade only throwing 6 interceptions to Nussmeier's 12 shows me that, yes, Nussmeier's a gunslinger, but in a game like this, I want a guy that's going to protect the ball because the defenses, we're going to look at him and we're going to be like, what guy can pick apart a defense better than the other? Because the defense, because LSU wasn't as good as a defense or as talented as a defense as Clemson was. Because Clemson, they had 35 sacks and forced 16 interceptions. LSU's defense last year only had 25 sacks and only 6 interceptions. There was a time period where LSU was DBU with the Patrick Petersons, with the Tyrann Matthews, with the Derek Stingley Jr.'s. Now they're only for 6 interceptions. That's not the standard. So when I go look at it like this, Clemson got rid of Wes Goodwin from last year, and they hired Tom Allen from Penn State. I don't know how, but getting Tom Allen now opens up a world of trouble for college football because now we see what Penn State did with the pass rushers, with the dual Carter, Michael Parsons, all that. But now he has Peter Woods and TJ Parker coming out the edge. That's a recipe for disaster. But I will say this. In this game here, it's simply going to come down to A, coaching. What team looked like they were more prepared in this game? That's going to be very significant, and it's going to be shown. Because we're going to see in the 2-minute drills, we're going to see in situational football, what team was prepared the most by their coaches. 2, which defense can get a turnover? Because in a game like this, a turnover is what a defense needs to ignite an offense to get them start humming. Because we all know when the offense starts humming, it's hard to stop. Because you have 2 elite quarterbacks to where we have to sit there and be like, all right, Cade just went 10 for 10 in the second. Or Garrett just went 11 for 11 the past couple of drives. What's going to happen? Because a humming offense is so hard. But I feel it so that I trust Clemson's defense to get that stop or Clemson's defense to get that turnover more than I do LSU. And 3, yes, the SEC stadiums are different, but we're talking about Clemson at night, Memorial Stadium at night. That place is going to be rocking. Everyone's going to be around. Everyone's going to be like, everyone's going to be in that environment saying, this is arguably probably the best environment that I've been in a season opener from a home team perspective in a very long time. Because a marquee matchup this early between 2 different conferences, it happens, but it happens where? On a neutral site. Now that this game is where arguably one of the best college football stadiums, and you have that team, you have that crowd behind their team, giving the Clemson Tigers 34-31. And here's why. 34-31, and I believe that we're going to see an overreaction from college football fans talking about LSU, and we're going to see an overreaction saying that Clemson is a shoo-in fit for a national championship. Because, yes, they have the talent to do so, but the consistency has to be there to seal the deal. And they also can't peak too early. Because, yes, they're in the SEC. Yes, it won't seem as though they won't have formidable opponents moving forward. But there will be tough games. But a formidable opponents like in the SEC, we look at the ranked opponents. Clemson only has right now 3 ranked opponents: LSU, SMU, and South Carolina. But who knows throughout the season? But right now, Clemson wins his football game, and Clemson moves 1-0. LSU moves 0-1. So that concludes my game preview. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll see you guys on the next one. Come like, comment, and subscribe. Come join the den. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.